I'm Mark Zaccaria. This is Common Sense TV. We're here with Common Cause Executive Director John Marion. John, thanks for putting up with us for all of these segments. This is a very in-depth interview and something you'll probably find nowhere else on cable or TV. As we come to the end of the line, and you've talked about a number of the things that Common Cause is involved with on behalf of the voters, assuming that everything you have talked about to this date falls into place and you are once again victorious, what's next? Looking ahead, what is Common Cause going to do?
Yeah, we'll never go out of business because we're in Rhode Island. So the journalists call it a playground for journalists because we have so many interesting situations come up, particularly in terms of political corruption. There are endless numbers of things we can work on. Once we have the jurisdiction, knock wood, of the Ethics Commission back over the General Assembly, there are certainly parts of our state ethics laws that need to be improved. There are parts of the revolving door that need to be tightened. For instance, there have been a number of controversial cases around the revolving door in the last couple of years. So there are a lot of things, there's a lot of fertile ground for us to farm here in terms of that. One of the things we were talking about in the break was the election calendar, right? So our Secretary of State has talked a little bit about one of what would be a really, significant change, which would be moving the primary. The primary, we're taping this on a Wednesday. The primary was yesterday, September 13th. That's the latest primary in the United States. And if you back out from that primary, we have a filing period for office in July, late June, early July. And so forth, and a lot could change in the way we elect our elected representatives if we changed our primary date. And that's something I think we want to look at. But we don't want to just think about, okay, what if we had it in June, or what if we had it in April? But what does that mean for the other issues we care about? Does that make it more expensive to run for office, and more difficult for people? Does it make it cheaper? Does that advantage incumbents? Does that favor challengers? What does it mean if we're going to change these? Because once you change one thing in a dynamic system, you're changing the whole system. But it's something we want to look at because I think a lot of people feel like the system is rigged for incumbents of either party in the way we elect people in the state. And we don't want a rigged system for incumbents. We want a system that's fair. And we want people, voters, whether it's through redistricting or access to the ballot or whatnot, voters to feel like they can make change if they want to have change.
And give them the time to do that. I'll give you a couple of quick things that an earlier primary would do that is not directly related to incumbency. They would allow parties to come back together and make friends again after two halves of them had gone at one another. Mm-hmm. And they would also allow, and especially in the federal races, national money to be committed. Right now, today, if somebody won a primary yesterday for the Congress or the Senate, and then said, "Okay, I'm now the nominee of my party. I can go out and get nationwide donations." I'm sorry, at this late date, they're all committed. I know, I was there, and so it really does hamstring anybody who has a primary because of how late it is.
And so it shows you that, like I said, it's a dynamic system. A lot of parts change if you just change this one thing, which is the date. But it could be a catalyst for better things. And so, but we need to look at that. I think we need to really have a conversation. We need to hear from a lot of the different stakeholders, so to speak, about what would change, and think about the campaign finance law and the other parts of the election calendar and how it interacts with them.
Sounds like your typical approach is to identify a problem, do some study so that you think you have a fair handle on all aspects of it, and then try and tailor some sort of a proposed solution to the actual landscape of Rhode Island.
Yeah, and like we talked about at the beginning, Rhode Island's a unique beast, and we want to make sure that our solutions aren't just taken from a box and applied to Rhode Island. I think that's always a bad solution. To just say, let's do what they do over there. Let's take that model bill and just do it here. Because things are a little different here, and we want to take advantage of the good things, the advantages we have, the small size, the fact that we have this commuting legislature. You can get from any part of the state and serve in the state legislature. That's not necessarily a bad thing. That opens it to a lot of people, rather than other models. So we want to take advantage of that, but it requires that extra study. It requires you going the extra mile to make sure you get it right.
Well, so you'll be looking at things like revisions in the ethics law as they relate to probably transparency, probably the autonomy that different either legislators or, because the law does apply to state workers as well, to the various bureaucracies that are involved there, and basically standing the watch to see how it's all going.
Yeah, and that's the other part is focusing on implementation. So it's no good to pass laws and then not have them properly implemented. And we've seen some success in that, and we've seen some failures in that. So separation of powers, implementation was very good at the very beginning. Now it's trailed off. And so you still see legislators introduce bills that are a violation of our new constitutional order, and we have to be the watchdog. There were 60 groups at the height of the separation of powers movement working on that issue. There's one group left now, and that's us. And we need to do that on more issues we work on.
Excellent. So are you able, in your opinion, to get the kind of gravitational influence in the public discourse, the media attention, the loud enough voice to get people to hear when you notice problems like this and start speaking on them?
Yeah, we're fortunate in being really the only good government group with a full-time staff that we can get a lot of attention when we want to and dig into things. The unfortunate side is there's less media, so the Providence Journal is shrinking. And they have often been our megaphone on these issues. When we see something, we raise it with them and bring it into the public eye. And with their shrinking, it becomes more difficult for us.
John, we've just got about a minute and a half left, and you've been great to give us this much time, but perhaps you could leave our viewers with your impression of how you want them to see Common Cause when they look at you.
Sure. So what we want people to know is that we're an organization open to them, right? We're the people's lobby, and they're the people. So if they want to get involved with us, like I said earlier, they should join our mailing list, but then give us a call, write us an email, let us know how you want to get involved. We have lobby days where we take people up to the assembly. We have them talk to their legislators about our agenda. And that leaves a deep impression. So there are a lot of ways to get involved, and we want people to know, get involved with us in some way. Follow us on Twitter, or join our Facebook page, like our Facebook page. You can do something. Rhode Island, like I said, because we're so small, it has its challenges, but it has its strengths. And one of the strengths is people can very easily get involved here, and we're one vessel through which they can do that.
Sounds like you have the option for people to come in and stick a toe in the water to find out and to advance into the organization as far and as fast as they feel comfortable doing it.
Exactly.
And obviously, the more the merrier. John, you've been great to take time with us today. Obviously, Common Cause is a super organization nationwide, and you're the keeper of that flame here in Rhode Island. We thank you for everything you do, and I'm sure that all of the viewers of Common Sense TV thank you for it as well.
Oh, thank you, Mark.
Thank you.